to this view up here. I think I am correct that the first year that we awarded Heroes of Conservation, that Bob McCullough was one of the winners. It was Bob McCullough, Charles Chip Henry, and somebody else. So, Judge Ford, we did do him either that year or the next. We'll check it out. We've got a scrapbook. So, we are now. I would now like to call up the person who is going to introduce Jacqueline Samuel. And the best part of awarding this to Jacqueline was that I got to see the house. So I am giving you a little teaser on what she's going to be talking about. Her introduction person is Marta Stone. And is that a surprise? Cool. Marta is apparently, or was, a good friend of Jacqueline's, and also happens to be the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Ohio Nature Conservancy. Very good. So I give you Marta, who will then give you Jacqueline.
To be here, and I think I've been to a few events before the pandemic, and then since then every year. So how do I know Jacqueline? Jacqueline and I both experienced loss in 2014, and were invited to join a small group by Christy Burr, and many of you know Christy. It's called Christy's Group. Our husbands both had died unexpectedly. Shortly after we came together and spent time, I joined the Nature Conservancy Ohio Board. And there happened to be an opportunity to go to Belize. There were going to be 12 people going, and there was a few empty spots. And so I said, Jacqueline, what do you think? And she said, I'm all in. And so the trip to Belize was, not a beach trip. This was a trip to go into the rainforest and to learn about carbon sequestration, and then go out to the reefs off Placentia and to visit and work with the fishermen co-op as they were learning to plant seaweed in grids. The Nature Conservancy was helping them do that because they had overfished the spiny lobster and the conch. So from there, and that beginning of that dialogue and moving around, nature has been a big part of our evolving friendship. So it's been over 8 years now. I moved to Geauga County 5 years ago from years in Ashtabula County, and it was Jacqueline that's introduced me to Geauga Parks and all the wonderful organizations and people that are supporting that. When I shared with Christy, who has the ability to organize, that I had been asked to introduce Jacqueline today, she quickly helped organize a small group of women to gather and talk about Jacqueline and this award and what it means. So lucky for me, I ended up at Paige Orbis's fabulous home and literally climbed into it and met there. And so what I'm going to share with you are snippets of the conversation that we had that afternoon, and then some other comments from some of Jacqueline's fans. Well, Paige was the first to talk about how she's known Jacqueline through the Geauga Park District Foundation and how they work together in hiring the development staff in the Park District. You might look for some themes in all of this as I talk. That was followed by the Observatory Park campaign, resulting in raising $2.2 million. She also was involved in the Geauga Growth Partnership, an organization that her husband Frank had started. She carried her development and fundraising skills there. She and Paige worked together to set up an endowment fund then in honor of Frank and his memory after he passed. Linda Pentilla was with us that day, and she knows Jacqueline through her work with the PEO, a philanthropic educational organization that many of you must know, and how Jacqueline continues to actively support the organization, which raises money for educational loans, scholarships, and grants for women. She shared that Jacqueline always had an interest in conservation and the environment, and she also had kind of a cool idea to build a home that for herself that would be an extension of her personality. Educating the public was foremost in the mind when deciding to build the net zero home that she now lives in. How many have been there? You can put your hands down, and now I'm going to say how many are going to go there. Well, her husband Hank Patella, who was the architect, was not there that afternoon, but we learned from him that Jacqueline had expressed her desire while working at the Kent Advisory Committee at Kent, in Burton campus. But she had shared with him that she wanted to demonstrate that everyone can do something to preserve our natural environment. And she was going to demonstrate that by living in a life in harmony with her surroundings. As a way to teach others about conserving resources in the environment, she constructed a natural home on land which she preserved as a natural garden and home for native plants and animals. Karen Shelgren, another one of our, what we call our married widows group, talks about Jacqueline as being the epitome of a person living love, whether it is seen in her relationship with people or the environment. Her example was that taking Jacqueline out to look for tiles and flooring for her new home, Jacqueline was very conscientious about the money that it would cost because she wanted everyone to realize that an energy efficient home could be affordable. She wanted her home to be a model for others. So then there's Christy. Christy is thinking about her as a humanitarian and how Jacqueline has touched so many organizations and people. She's a devoted friend. She integrates people, weaving connections. She's not afraid to go up to anybody and say, hey, will you match what I'm doing for this initiative? Your help with this important project is very important. She's inquisitive. She thirsts for knowledge and thrives on learning new things. I think we all feel that we are in her presence, we feel valued. She always makes you feel special, inclusive. She's warm. She's kind. And have you seen her dance? I have. So as Christy says, the Renaissance woman in many ways, she has evolved not letting anything limit her. And to think, someone wanting to build a house off the grid, moving out of the family home she had been in for years, to take that undertaking on when many at that age are moving into retirement communities, pretty amazing. So my final comments are from another fan, Dan Best. And we know Dan and his wonderful comments, but I had to share this. Dan's comments were that I'm an admirer of intellect, which Jacqueline has in spades. Jacqueline is quick to grasp and appreciate the significance of each experience in nature that I've had the pleasure of having her along. This is very apparent in her parting comments at the completion of an outing, as well as her insightful questions and observations. Jacqueline is a lifelong learner with an undiminished appetite for new knowledge. Although quiet and thoughtful, Jacqueline is a very warm person who enjoys being in the company of others, be they familiar friends or new acquaintances. She is a delight to be in the company of. So I can't tell you what an honor and pleasure it is for me to introduce to you my friend, Jacqueline Samuel, and all of our friends here who described herself as one with nature. Congratulations.
Very grateful for this step up here. I don't know who she was talking about, but I'm very grateful for the compliments and the description. And when I look around this room, I think this is the cream of the crop about nature in Geauga County. You all are unbelievable in the same interests in preserving nature and so forth. Thank you very much. That was very, very kind of you, Marta. So I built a house. I had no place to live at one point, and my husband had died, and I looked around for houses and I couldn't find anything that was available, and I had a house in Washington, D.C., and decided that it was way too big for me and the neighborhood changed, and so I sold that house. And I had to make a choice between living in Geauga County or in Washington, D.C. And I thought about the snowy winters, and Geauga County knows what to do with snow. So that's why I chose to live here. So because I couldn't find any place to live, I got interested in building. And at an advanced age, you want to leave something for the community. So I thought a solar house, if I could prove that there's enough sun in Geauga County that you can build a net zero